evening and welcome to the Swanton Enhancement Project Steering Committee meeting. It is November 2nd. So we're gonna welcome and go over the agenda review. Does anybody have anything they need to add to the agenda that's not on there?
I just, we don't have a new business area, so maybe down just before secretary needed, or just call that new business. And
Yep.
I know Christine's here to talk about Marble Mill, and I'm gonna mention it as part of the financial, but we ought to carry it under new business.
Okay. Yes. No. So we're gonna review the minutes from our September 7th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Molly and Joel. Second, all approved, say aye. Opposed? I don't know if I have to do that, I'm so used to doing it.
No, you do.
First discussion, and then if there's no
just
discussion. then
any
take- then the vote.
changes.
Any further discussion? All right, motion carried. So Joel is gonna present us our financials.
Okay, this is as of yesterday, but I do not have the October statement yet. That won't come to me for a couple days. Right now in unrestricted, there's a balance of $10,076.13. The only activity since the last meeting in early September was $200 for the face painting. Check was written for that. Restricted has a nice balance of $33,964.21. $3,800 of that is committed for the LVRT. And we had that $20,000 nice donation that we received. So the activity since last report is I wrote 7 checks. I didn't list them. It was all related to the mural project. We were just a financial agent, so I wrote 7 checks totaling the $3,000 that we were holding for that project. If you haven't been down to the town beach or and seen it, recommend you go take a look. I think they did a great job down there. So those checks have all been sent. I don't know yet, they've all been cashed. $20,000 donation. I did make that deposit for that money, and then there was 1 check I wrote for some reimbursement to somebody for the beautification. So balance by category, bikes and signs, $88.95. $3,800 is committed, so I don't show that. Capacity building, $1477.25. Substance abuse, $1567.99. Beautification, get ready, and can't wait to see what it looks like this year, because they have $26,157.40. Marble Mill, $815. Grant write-in, $57.62, which quite frankly, you folks told me I could move that, and I haven't yet, but I will. I'm gonna put it into the substance abuse unless someone tells me different. There is one other summary of the budget here, if anyone wants to pass it out in the crowd. I just would like a vote tonight on moving $18,000 from beautification into a CD. I know we talked about it at our prep meeting for this, but I'd like to get it into the minutes to do that. I did look into the Morgan Stanley, and because of the amount of money, the fees that they charge, there's an annual fee, and then if you're not over 25,000, there's a quarterly fee. Those fees offset the increase in percentage over staying with the banks. So we don't need to go through that process after finding that out. So we'll just do a CD through the banks. Most likely People's Trust, but I am looking at M&T too to see between the two getting the best rate and how much paperwork, because right now our money is with People's Trust. But I just would like to get, I'll make the motion that we approve that $18,000 be put into a CD with either People's Trust or M&T Bank. And that right now, they're anticipating rates going down. So your best rate is like 6 or 8 months. The 1 year and beyond are actually less, which usually they're higher, but someone told me, hey, it's election year next year, so get ready, rates might come down. I'm like, really?
Stuff like
But,
that.
anyway, that's the motion.
I'll second the motion.
May I ask a question?
Yeah,
of course?
discussion, go ahead.
Just in the motion, that is the money for the beautification. It's dedicated to beautification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
What I did at Hank's request is took 2,000 of the 20,000 that they would be able to spend along with the 6 they already had, so they had around 8,000.
Great.
And then this would either be a 6 or 8 month CD, and then again, each year they want to take a certain amount out, we'll do that, and before we renew the CD, we'll have that discussion.
Great. Thank you.
So Joel made the motion, Hank seconded it. We've had discussion, any more discussion? All approved?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No, motion carried.
Just a clarification on the financials. In addition to the funds here, the village of Swanton gave us $5,000, some of which we have spent, so, but it's under a drawdown and not included in this, this report because Joel doesn't handle it. So we draw money down. So I think there's about $3,500 left there, which will be dedicated to paying for trees that have recently been planted.
And that's money that the village holds?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So can I ask a follow-up question, just for accounting purposes? So for the record, Bill Sheets, good to see everybody again. Is that gonna be encumbered, spent this year, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the trees have been planted, as I will report later, but that we haven't received the bill yet.
Good, we would definitely like to pay that this year,
Yeah.
so trying to carry it forward. Thank you.
And if you don't want to carry it forward and you just want to actually write it out to set, we'll take it that way too, but I don't know if that works for you.
We would actually do that instead of carry forward. So if we committed $5,000, we were gonna give you $5,000, whether you use the entire amount, and that's what we would do.
Okay.
Much more problematic to try to carry forward. the money.
Yeah, sure.
So I do want to pause for a moment because I forgot to do introductions. Because we do have some new folks in the room, so I want to make sure everybody, and we have a new committee. So I just want, not new committee, but executive. So I'm Betsy Fournier, I'm the chair of the Swanton Enhancement Project.
I'm Crystal Hammond, I'm the vice chair, and I serve on the Healthy Communities Subcommittee with Betsy.
Joel Clark, treasurer and secretary.
Hank Lambert with the beautification committee.
Nicole Draper with Swanton Recreation and the Town of Swanton.
There's the Billy. Business owner.
Yes. Sorry.
Sure. My name is Dick Russo. I'm with the Swanton Historical Society and Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Molly Lambert, and I'm an emeritus physician. So if you stay long enough, you can do that.
I'm Chris Sweeney, community member.
I'm Barbara Strife, and was transplanted here about 14 years ago to be a babysitter for my daughter. And we stayed. So,
Thanks for coming.
Bill Sheets, village manager, proud worker for village president Neil Spear.
You want to go, Matt?
Way back there.
Matt Walker, local business owner, basketball coach, and state representative for Swanton and Sheldon.
If you want to move closer, you can. Sandy?
Sandy Scales Kilburn, emeritus, and great grandparents to all of you.
I was gonna say,
wait a minute.
News? Wow.
Ron Kilburn, still Ron Kilburn.
Neil Spear, as Bill said, village manager and local business owner. I don't want to forget that.
Siobhan Cooper, communications.
I think that's everybody. So we're gonna move on to our next agenda, which is impact data presentation by Crystal. So we're gonna do this data presentation just to kind of move us into what our focus, we'd like to see what our focus would be for 2014. So I think this data will give us a good idea of where we're at in our communities, and that'll kind of move us into where we have to focus a little more moving forward.
So, I was given 15 minutes and I decided to focus on one data set versus multiples, but I do have some young adult survey data that can be shared as well. This particular presentation is going to focus on the 2021 Youth Risk Behavior Survey at the Missisquoi Valley School District. So this is our 7th through 12th graders. For demographics, we had a total of 449 students that completed the 2021 YRBS. There is typically a lag time that we get the data, and because of COVID, there's an especially long lag time. So there were 77 ninth graders, 61 10th graders, 85 11th graders, 31 12th graders, and then in the middle school we had 98 7th graders and 83 8th graders. Pretty evenly split between males and females. And a few noteworthy behaviors. I wanted to start off with one positive. So 90% of our high school students felt safe going to school, and 91% of our middle school students felt safe going to school. Unfortunately, despite that, 24% of our high school students reported being bullied, 18% electronically, and 45% of our middle school students reported being bullied, and 35% electronically. 72% of our high school students and 66% of our middle school students reported 3 or more hours of screen time per day. 31% of our high school students reported spending 10 or more hours participating in after-school activities. 65% of our high school students report having at least one teacher or other adult in their school that they can talk to if they have a problem, and 68% of our middle school students. I think this speaks really highly of the work that's been happening in this community. About 5 years ago, we were less than half of students that stated that. 43% of our students strongly agree that in their community they feel like they matter to people, and 52% of our middle school students. I attribute a lot of that to the incredible programming that's happening here at Swanton Library, at the rec department, just kind of, community-wide. Students are being shown that we do care. We've got the Vermont Youth Project that's happening. I think for a minute. Vermont Youth Project that's happening with students that are able to have a voice in things that are happening in the community, in the school. And Nicole's been a really great champion of that. So we thank you.
There was a great Messenger article recently too, if you hadn't seen that, to check that out.
So the reason I started talking about our YRBS data with the executive committee was because of our mental health data that's coming out. It was very concerning. I had been working with the countywide data first. We just barely got the supervisory union level data. And there were some things that were really concerning. 39% of our high school students reported that their mental health was most of the time or not always good. 38% have been bothered by feeling nervous, anxious, on edge most of the time or always. 29% felt sad or hopeless. 14% made a suicide plan, and 8% of our Missisquoi Valley School students had attempted suicide.
Say that again.
14% made a suicide plan, and 8% actually attempted suicide.
So what would be the number on 8%? How many attendance?
Well, that was out of 400, almost about 500 students.
Okay.
It's still, it's almost 10% though, so it is still significant. And this is all self-reporting, so, someone that may have gone to the hospital or a mental health clinician, their numbers may be a little different because this is self-reported. For our middle school students, 24% reported that their mental health was either most of the time or not always good. 32% have been bothered by feeling anxious or on edge most of the time or always. 28% felt sad or hopeless. 15% made a suicide plan, and 8% attempted suicide there as well. So we do have to keep in mind that this was in the middle of COVID. When in 2021 is when they took this survey. So The, at-home schooling and not being able to participate in sports and things like that may have an impact. And we'll have more of an idea once we get the 2023 data, whether or not this is a statistical anomaly because of COVID, or whether or not, this is gonna continue. We can say though, on a nationwide scale, youth are struggling with mental health in a really significant way. It's not, just happening in Vermont. It is really happening nationwide that young people are struggling. So for substance use, I just wanted to give a couple quick data sets. For our high school students, 16% reported ever trying cigarette smoking. 32% reported ever trying a vape device. 16% have ever tried a flavored tobacco product. 14% currently use tobacco products, whether those are cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, or electronic devices. 10% of middle school students reported ever trying cigarette smoking. 15% of middle school students reported ever trying a vape device. 9% have ever tried a flavored tobacco product. 9% are reporting current use of tobacco products. Again, cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, or electronic vapor device.
Nothing on alcohol use?
Coming up. My next slide. So for high school students, 49% reported ever trying alcohol. 19% have ever used cannabis. 26% currently use alcohol. And that typically asks about the last 30-day use. So over a quarter of our students currently are using alcohol. 15% currently use cannabis, which surprisingly shocked me because we're a little bit better than the statewide average. 11% first reported using a tobacco product before the age of 13. 18% reported using alcohol before the age of 13, and 6% reported using cannabis before the age of 13. So that's for our high school students. Our middle school students, 18% report ever trying alcohol, 9% have ever tried cannabis, 9% are currently using alcohol, so previous 30-day use. 4% were currently using cannabis, and 10% of those students tried alcohol before the age of 11. There was not enough of a statistical data set for cannabis before the age of 11. That is still concerning that 10% of our middle school students had drank alcohol before 11 years of age. I have an 8-year-old at home. I can't imagine him. But when you think about in the middle of COVID, take-home alcohol was happening. And we're not talking a single, typically when you go to a restaurant, it's not a single drink that's coming home in a take-home container. It's a much larger drink. And so if it's sitting in the fridge, it's unmarked, there was an ease of access. So some of the things that we can have an impact on are really perceptions of harm, community norms, what's allowable, acceptable, the way that we engage students, and we have a lot of work ahead of us, unfortunately. But I think there are a lot of things that we're doing that are really positive and moving in the right direction. As I said, Abby and Nicole are doing amazing things with young people here at the library and the rec department. When you can get 30 kids that are coming in for a teen night, that's a huge success, right? And that's giving those kids a safe place to be. So if we can catch kids before they ever start, or we can give them the skills to be resilient, perhaps we can slow them from trying alcohol before the age of 11 or trying cannabis before the age of 11. So we'll probably have a whole lot more information coming out as we have more data sets that are coming through. We'll have the VYP data very soon. Usually that's a 6-week turnaround, so I'm happy to share. Swanton does own their own data, so we can share that with you as well when that comes out, and we can see if there's some compare and contrast that we can do with the YRBS.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a question, Mark?
Clarification. When you use the pronoun we, Crystal, who is the we?
Who's the we? All of us as a community. It's going to take all of us as a community to combat any of this. My full-time job is with Franklin County Caring Communities, and I work closely with community partners throughout Franklin and Grand Isle County. Swanton has always been a place that has welcomed us with open arms. It's usually me and my friend Amy Brewer that are kind of going around doing the butt litter cleanups and doing education throughout the community. Last year we were in over 61 classrooms throughout Franklin County. And one of the things that we heard often from young people was that they were using substances to combat mental health issues. So that's why I brought that issue to the executive board, because it is something that's very concerning. We talked about some of the things that we could potentially be doing in the future to give these kids opportunities to engage and interact and feel connected to a community. My prevention consultant at the health department's favorite quote is, "The opposite of addiction is connection." So a lot of stuff that's happening in the community. I actually met with Bill and Chief Sullivan, and there's a possibility that we may have some opiate funding specifically to use. So thinking about the ways that we can do some really creative programming in Swanton specifically around that.
And one more, with the author of the data is?
This is a nationwide survey that is administered. Vermont has opted to participate in all grades from 6th to 12, and every school district participates in this. So it's a single survey that's administered throughout the U.S. There's a standard set of questions. I actually did print out the questions if anybody wanted to take a look at the actual survey. We do have some specific questions that a group of folks, preventionists in Vermont, asked to have in there with very specific language, because that data set was something that we really needed to be able to capture, especially around the cannabis use.
So it's the Department of Education that disseminates?
Department of Health. So this,
Department of Health.
yeah, so Vermont Department of Health disseminates our data, and it is collected through the CDC.
Okay, thank you.
Can I answer your question?
Yeah, go ahead.
But you said that you've been in 61 classes. What are you telling them in the classes? What are you doing in the classes?
So when we visit the classes, we have depending on the age group that we're working with. So Amy and I have gone into 3rd grade classes, and with 3rd graders, we don't want to go into the weeds about specific substances, but we talk about healthy bodies, healthy brains, and how we can keep our bodies healthy, how we can keep our brains healthy, how we can make good decisions. As we get a little older, we do start talking about the specific substances. We talk a lot about vaping because it is something that we are seeing kind of throughout the entire state of Vermont actually it's a nationwide epidemic with young people vaping. So we do talk about specific substances with older students. And we talk about the ways that we can make other choices, and we talk about the dangers. So when we go in and we hear students that are saying, I'm smoking weed because it lessens my anxiety and lessens my depression, we talk about the fact that it may be a symptomatic fix, but it exacerbates a long-term problem. So,
So you go into the high school too?
we go into any classroom that invites us.
Great.
Yep, and we have been in the high schools. My organization also runs a program called the Vermont Teen Institute. Your granddaughters have been part of my health project. Where they've gone around and done community presentations with me. And our Vermont Teen Institute is all of our high schools throughout the county, with the addition of Milton High School and Colchester High School. And the students are taking leadership roles on substance use prevention and education.
Cindy?
So I want to start out by saying, on the positive side, Swanton has been doing good things since the 80s, from 0 up through high school, with prevention. And Notch has just hired a pediatrician who is going to be working up at MVU starting in January to talk to kids in school about these very things. Those are the positive things. And the unbelievable It just takes my breath away, but I think we all need to read it. I looked at it for a week before I was brave enough to read it, but it's the 7 days report on Woodside, the loss of grace, and it's something that we all need to know.
Did you say the loss of grace?
Yes.
Okay.
And talk about it a little bit. You've read it.
I didn't read it in depth enough to feel like I could.
I'll
I
give
will
you
go
my
back
copy.
and-
It's all
Oh, I've got it.
highlighted.
I've got it, Sandy.
But it deals with mental health, and it deals with unbelievable things that were happening at Woodside for a long time, and how people just didn't understand. And as a human being, I think, as painful as it is, it's good for all of us to read this information. Can't hide our heads in the sand.
Vermont's been doing a lot of work for the last decade or so to talk about ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, and trauma, and how trauma impacts adults. And I think that pretty much all of our schools are trauma-informed schools at this point, and we're kind of turning. The goal is to turn away from that. But we have to at the same time accept that we have some significant problems happening. I mean, just this week we had a 14-year-old that killed another 14-year-old in the state. These are things that, you know, when I was a kid growing up here in the 80s, 90s, we didn't see those things happening. And I'm not sure if it just wasn't happening, or we just didn't have social media in our hands, and we didn't have the internet in the palm of our hands to be able to see that immediately as it was happening. But you know, we know right now with all of the things that have happened with COVID, and the lack of communication with people, the lack of interaction with people, are having huge impacts on not just youth but adults as well. Kids have forgotten how to talk to each other.
So if I can just echo on that, you know, I was doing some youth work up at the school yesterday, and I had a fabulous conversation with some educators about one thing that the data isn't showing, and it's a huge addiction that our young people are challenged with. They're addicted to technology.
Yes.
So as we talk about building connection, you know, as a not only a prevention method, but a way to support mental health, you know, that's good for our young people and our adults. And I know all of us here in this room are leaders in having that connection, because I know personally I feel like I can reach out and talk to any of you at any point in time. But as our community continues to grow, I see that there is a definite need to continue that connection with our neighbors. You know, I feel very fortunate to where I live. I live out in Hog Island, and I love my neighbors. You know, but something very scary happened in our neighborhood to an 11-year-old boy who was being solicited by a stranger, and he didn't know where to go. But he knew he could go to my house, and he showed up at my house. And so, you know, I think there's a lot of young people, a lot of adult neighbors that don't have that connection in our community. And as we talk about our focuses, you know, I just want people to really think about that connecting factor is something that we all need to continue to promote in all of the work that we do here. Because, you know, my phone's on 24/7 a day, and everybody in this room should know that they can call me at any hour. You know, but our young people the same. You know, they're starting to reach out when they're not feeling safe, and they need to connect, and I'm happy to be that person. But I think that, you know, they can all feel that same way with a lot of the leaders here in this town, so our community.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to do some really incredible things. I think the community center is a great start, having that conversation about a safe place for young people to be, and not just you know, high school students, but young adults. There is not a ton of things in Franklin County for young adults to do. We lost the bowling center. The movie theater became very restricted in St. Albans, unless you have the ability to pay for a gym membership. You know, we don't even have that necessarily locally. I know that we have a fantastic new gym at MVU, and their goal is to open that up to community as well. But it would be incredible to have things that we can offer young people. I had no idea what it was. I was told about an esports marathon and how excited young people were about the thought of having an esports marathon or competition happening. My nephew told me he made a lot of money in college doing this. So I think that there are opportunities for us to really open some doors up for young people in our community.
Crystal, you also have a mentoring program, don't you?
We do have an incredible mentoring program. It's called Watershed Mentoring. I have always believed in mentoring. Betsy and I have a long history with the Watershed Mentoring program. I was a mentor as I came out of college for a young woman in our community that's doing great things right now. Very proud of her. I won't name her, but her mom still talks about the impact that mentoring had on her. My 8-year-old has a mentor who is amazing. I have seen a world of difference happening in just his attitude and behavior. And he does things because he wants to make his mentor proud. So I'm just mom. He doesn't really care if he makes me proud, but he really wants to make his mentor proud. So we do have a community-based mentoring program. The minimal ask is 1 to 2 hours a week for a year. And we have a waiting list of kids.
And then not just to echo, it's not just our young people, but it's also our aging Vermonters. I spent last week some time with our SASH group here in the library doing a cooking program. And they were a fun and lively group, and they loved that connection. And they have begged me to come back this month. So I will be back cooking with the seniors on Tuesday, to be determined the date, but you know, it's everybody. We all need to continue to connect.
And I would just add that you get a lot more than you get when you're mentoring.
So this is wonderful, and I think it kind of leads us into our next conversation about what SEP's focus needs to be for 2024. So our focus is pretty broad. Our current focus is individual, environmental, infrastructure, social, emotional, family, and community. So our thought is to pick 3 top focuses to focus on in 2024. And when I say top 3, what I foresee our focus is picking 3 focuses out of that broad group of focuses, and really tap into bringing people in to have conversations about those specific areas. Dedicating events to those areas, and really focusing a lot more on how we can influence that change in our community to benefit not only our youth, but our teens, our middle-aged adults. I don't even know where I fall. I think I'm getting in that aging Vermonter group, but just the community as a whole. And I know, like Crystal has given us a ton of data about our youth, but I think our youth are influenced by all of us and our community as a whole. So I think we need to really focus on how we tackle that as a community as a whole. So any thoughts on top three focuses for the next year? Not that we are gonna master them all, but I think we're a pretty dedicated group, and I think we're doing a lot of wonderful things in the community already. And I think just getting a lot more people to influence change and be part of those groups and really get the information out is where maybe we're lacking, because I don't know if you guys knew all this information about the data. And it's kind of an awe moment for a lot of us to hear it out loud. But this is what's happening, and this is what our youth are saying, so we kind of need to support them. Their voices speak volumes. So I'm open to any thoughts. Molly?
So when you outline these priorities or suggest some of these priorities, they're all great. Are we considering being a resource, an education resource, a call to action? Are we putting SEP into another contributor to community and family or environmental or infrastructure, or are we a resource, are we information providers, conveners?
I think we can be a lot of all of that, but in little increments. For instance, we meet, once every quarter?
Every
2
other
months.
month.
Yeah, every other month. So take one of our focuses, and that month is what we're gonna focus on. Like, we'll bring in a speaker, or maybe we'll have an event, or we'll share information.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a communications department, so I think that just getting the information out a lot more of that information, utilizing our town and village website, that is amazing, and really putting our events out there. Just getting the information in the people's hands are really important.
And a way to act on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there are so many good things that are happening that we can enhance, the Notch Summer Camp, for instance. Rain or shine, when you looked out on those rec fields, you saw, between 30 and 50 very happy kids running around for the entire month of July.
It was more like 50 to 90.
50 to 90. On a nice sunny day, 90. On a rainy day, even 50. And, I would wake up and see it raining, and I would say to my kids, are you sure you want to go? They only have those easy ups to get under. And my boys were like, are you kidding me? We had story hour at Miss Abby in the dugout. So, doing, I think that enhancing the programs that are currently available is a way to be proactive, and then that kind of information push will be really helpful. I think there are a lot of folks that are doing good things, and sometimes they're not good about shouting it from the rooftops.
Some of us are way too humble.
So, if you wanted my three real quick, I would go with the family and community. I'd go with the environmental, and the social emotional, but that, I don't wanna forget how a lot of community strengths come under those topics. You could fit in almost anything you wanted to do under those three. Like economic development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though it's not, like, we have task forces that are doing a lot of this work, some under environmental, infrastructure, individual, social, emotional, family, and community. That's not gonna stop happening. But I think what we wanna see is top 3 things that maybe we can just really take to a different level. Highlight it, give information to the community that they're lacking, resources that they need. It could be a block party, it could be, I wrote down all this stuff over here, just an event, education, communication, meeting your neighbors, like Nicole said, just so everybody knows that, if Crystal's kids are in trouble, they can come to my house, cause I'm just down the road, but they have to get through the cows first.
Yeah.
I know I'm in a corner, but I won't say
Yeah, I
that.
can't, you gotta yell at me.
I think we could narrow this down or combine it as, like, all the suggestions that you're saying is to promote the community. A lot of these subjects come under promoting your community. Like the town and the village started a new website, and there's a lot of information on that. And we're being more diligent about publishing good stuff that's going on and stuff that you should be aware of, the PD warnings, just to promote all the good stuff that we've got going on in the Swanton village and town, the Swanton community. That would combine a lot of these other issues.
The best part about the website is we're doing it together. Finally,
Yeah.
there's togetherness. We're all coming together.
What was that, Joel?
But Hank already shouted.
Yeah, Joel, one Swanton,
One
yeah,
song, come on. It's all good.
One
Hey.
police department, Joe, we'll talk to you real soon.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd like to
Well,
say
it sounds
something.
to me like
Siobhan.
community
Yeah.
raises right up to kind of number one.
Well, we'll throw community in there. Siobhan, go ahead. We'll listen to hear from.
Adding on to what a lot of everybody's saying, when we were in the executive committee meeting, we had some really good conversations, and we talked about, I think we should mention this, getting rid of the title of the economic development as far as a committee. And economic development's been really good downtown, and most of the buildings are filled. And as far as like that would go more under community engagement, and then combining and changing the name in general. I've been saying this for a while. Communications and Connectivity Committee is really long and does not flow as well. And I feel like we need to add like an engagement part into that title, maybe a Community Engagement and Communications Committee or something, and then something like that. But it'd be a lot of collaborating, like I had mentioned, doing like going off what Nicole was saying with the phones. I have teenagers, they are addicted. And I was like, so how do we reach those that are stuck in the rooms? How do you help me get my kids out of their rooms and off their stuff and involved? And I was like, let's try and think about like esports. And then she mentioned that they were trying to do something like that. And I know that Northwest Access does esports. I don't know if they're currently doing it, but they've been doing it. But I feel like reaching out to more of our local organizations, communicating, maybe even creating an email or something that different organizations you can just send information to, for sharing things on the set page. Faith will just message me and say, hey, can you put this up? And not a problem. And when we need something for the town, the website has been really awesome for that. So that's been great. But I feel like to get our community more engaged, we need to give them more to be engaged. Like you're talking about block parties, we need to plan events. And I also want to thank everybody for the $200 for the face painting for the last event. It didn't turn out great. We didn't have a lot of turnout. But I think a lot of that, because I'd like to start talking to the different market managers and maybe for our area, create a communication line, because normally they do every third Sunday in St. Albans, but because they had to cancel, not every second and fourth or something, they ended up going on our day. So I think a lot of the vendors never even showed up and went to St. Albans, and you can't blame them. They have a business, they're trying to make money, and if we don't have the people coming out, it's like the conundrum catch-22. We don't have the people coming out, you don't have the vendors don't come, etc. But I feel like maybe working within the Community Engagement Committee, narrowing down on our market as well and communicating better so we don't overstep on different times, and making more things for all of us to do, because there isn't a whole lot going on with much of us going around, but there is, you know what I mean? You just have to know what's going on and where it's going. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. So community's one of our number ones.
Yes, of course, and I think Neil is exactly right. All of these topics relate to the mission of building a community where people want to live, learn, work, and play. But in order to hook people, you have to kind of go to where Betsy, I think the executive committee was going. This is a good thing we've got going on here, and here's how you can find out about it, and here's how you can enhance that work. So you're disseminating information about specific topics. It does all come under building community for sure, but I think if you just said building community, it's so broad that there's not somebody who's particularly interested in what Christine is promoting this evening, or do you know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
wanna draw community in who are interested in these topics, I think,
Yeah, no, I agree.
yeah.
We have to kind of think about the community as a whole. Not everybody wants to know
Everything.
this or that, or, you know, we gotta shake it up a little, I think.
Yeah.
Nick, I saw you back there waving.
The only thing that, the thing that's come to mind to me is that should there be a specific youth focus? Because I noticed that with the presentation, that there seems to be like kids using harmful substances going up. And should we have a mission, should be part of our,
I don't think we wanna focus it specifically on youth, on teens or kids. I think it needs to be a community as a whole conversation. When you look at our opiate overdose rates, throughout the state of Vermont, it's young adults. So it's that 18 to 30 age range where we're seeing the biggest impact. So I don't think we wanna just focus on teens and kids. And I think that we're seeing more and more of the mental health issues that are coming to light with middle-aged and aging adults as well. So I do think that this is something that needs to be an entire community discussion. Where we can make that difference for youth is really around like community messaging. So talking about what are acceptable community norms and what are not acceptable community norms. When you look at I didn't do all of the data sets, but when you look at some of the things like young people that are riding in car, we have 37% of our high school students report texting and driving. So, that's a little scary, right? That's something that's really hard for officers to see when they're driving around town. So unless they're like catching somebody that's getting in an accident and then the reason comes out as being texting, that's really difficult for officers to patrol. But that's something that we could do as a messaging campaign. So talking to young drivers specifically, we care about you, we want you to be healthy and successful, so let's not do this. I know that other groups that we're working with, Enosburg has a really high rate of alcohol use for their young people. So they're focusing right now, doing some work in the schools focusing around reducing alcohol consumption. We're seeing a lot of binge drinking that's happening with teenagers. So creating those messaging campaigns, and that's where we push information out the door, or we do the lawn signs that we've done in the past, like we care about you because X, Y, Z, and not necessarily focusing on the bad behavior, but focusing on the good things that can come from it.
Does anybody in the crowd have any thoughts?
Well, I kinda had one, but,
Okay.
I don't know, since being a transplant here, we moved from place to place as my family was growing up because of my husband's job. So this has like been the longest we've lived in one place one time. But I've been in places where they've had a welcoming committee. And when we first moved here, we lived in Alberg, and then my physician told me we gotta move across those railroad tracks, because nobody's gonna be able to get you over there fast enough to the hospital. So we moved over here.
All right, I live in Albert.
Oh, do you? Oh, I loved Albert. No, wait a minute. No, you live in the village here, don't you?
No, I live in Albert.
you live in Elmore.
Oh, well, I loved Albert. I didn't want to leave there, but my doctor encouraged us. So I've been here for 5 years, but I was thinking maybe because I've been watching on YouTube, the village and the town, meetings and stuff, and they want to encourage growth. So I'm thinking I don't remember any of my neighbors coming to my door when I moved in here or Elberg, so I'm just wondering whether that's a part of your community.
I think those are, like meet and greets or social aspects in our community that we don't do a ton of with adulting because we're all so busy and we're always focused on our own children.
I was just thinking maybe mail a community letter to them so they know what they're involved in. I didn't know about this until you put it on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I tried Front Porch Forum this time because I was like, well, you never know. You gotta kind of meet people where they're at.
So as you're talking, all I can think of is during COVID when we were doing the first responder parades. I remember you being at the end of your driveway every night that we did them.
Yes.
And bringing
sparklers.
Yeah, and something so simple like that you know, bringing people together, not necessarily around a cause, but even just like showing people that the community cares.
Yeah. So we're like almost 10 minutes behind, but, so we kinda gotta move into our next one, but we only have community and family.
So, if I could wrap it up.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Sandy.
So, all of this comes under community, and we've talked about social, emotional, mental health, substance use. These are things, I think, that impact each and every one of us. And so I think people would be interested in coming to meetings that focus on some of these things. And my recommendation would be that the meetings be educational, because we can never get too much education about these things that are happening right now.
Community dialogue nights.
Right.
And I do feel like the more, like when we put an actual topic or a speaker to our committee meetings, we have a better turnout, because people wanna know.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. So,
Just one more quick, if we are gonna be talking about these issues, do we have any young leaders,
oh yeah,
high school people who would be willing to share time with us?
Like Matt.
Every other month?
yeah, I think we do have a group of youth that would be more than happy to come, I mean, they probably,
I can think of 10 off the top of my head.
yeah,
So can
Yeah.
we make
Yeah. Youth
formal,
leaders.
give a formal invitation or something?
yeah, definitely.
What do you think?
We can give them community service hours if they want even.
Yeah.
Always a good motivator.
I'd like to know if we could get a survey to the students at the high school and the middle school and ask them what type of events, you know, they would like to see.
I think they do that in their committee groups already.
So I mean, I'm there and I get a lot of verbal feedback. Implementing another survey or something for kids to do is a challenging task, not only for the students, because that's the last thing they want to do, but it's also going through the tape at the district level is very challenging to get them to administer a survey the school-wide.
But we have a communications committee, and we can incentivize. So we could do surprises. If they take the survey, they get entered for prizes. And that's a good way to get information.
We did that for the first survey. I created the fun, like the raffle thing, because it really got people doing the survey, and then we should have done it the whole way.
So,
And we should pull out the old one where we had over 500 kids from elementary through high school responding to community likes and dislikes, what they wanted and what they didn't have. We should pull that out.
And that's a great community dialogue night to pull that in from, if we do an additional survey, to pull that survey together and to talk about getting other people involved, and not just putting the onus on the people that are sitting in this room around this table, but getting other people involved in those subcommittees that maybe just don't know about them.
yeah. So I think we're good. We have community, family, socially emotional. Are we yay, yay?
Yay, yay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the community task force, and we put recap, revisit. So currently we have beautification, healthy communities / substance use, communications, and community and economic development. So our executive committee had met a few weeks prior to this, and some of our task forces are pretty active, and some of them have kind of gone stagnant. So we're thinking that maybe we should either combine them, rename them. So obviously beautification is blossoming, so we're not touching that, right?
See what you did there.
Yeah. So I think beautification is great. Healthy communities and substance use. Healthy communities and substance use are the same thing.
Yeah, I think get rid of the substance use.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to move away from even saying prevention and talk about skill building, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree more. How about you guys? Good with that?
Yeah.
Communications is all and I know Siobhan had just said that community, what'd you call it?
Community engagement
Community engagement.
and communications, or just community engagement, or if anybody can think of a clever one.
Communication / engagement, I mean, there's.
I think the focus, the best part is like the engagement part, because it is, you know, community engagement.
Community engagement.
But
Yeah.
they are two different and important tasks. The engagement requires communication in order to have it happen. So,
Communications and engagement,
Yeah.
can we agree on that
Yeah.
for the name?
And then get rid of community economic, or, no, Darcy, it's your baby, tell me.
Well, I have no help from the Chamber of Commerce.
Yep.
I have had no help really from this board for any kind of help to get people in our businesses. I
Right.
had 4 customers in the last 2 days.
Yep.
And if we want our storefronts to continue to be filled, we need to find a way to get people to come into our stores. I've talked to other local retail owners and they're having the same problem.
Yeah.
So there's zero help. And if we wanna keep the stores filled, we need help.
So economic don't you have a committee to revitalize our downtown?
We have a plan, we have a key role in that.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a core mission for us.
okay, super.
Well, what is being done from that mission to help the actual businesses themselves other than to make the building look good and the streets look good?
Well, hopefully to put businesses in, right next to you. We have I think you improve immediately in the spring when we have a restaurant that looks really good right now, when we have a bakery that looks really good right now.
But I've been there for 3 years and it's been 3 years of promises and I've seen
Yeah.
not much for changes. And I guess it's just after 3 years you get a little discouraged.
But when you see a business owner have a loan in hand and get a loan
Yeah,
really
oh,
from
I-
us, I think we're
yeah,
heading
I'm
in the
hopeful
right
too,
direction.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that it's a really bad idea to get rid of the economic development. I think we need some assistance
Yeah.
in that. It was thrown in my lap and I have never been on a board like that before. Debbie just said, here, this is yours now.
Can we
And I
call
don't
it
know-
just economic development?
You can call it whatever you want, I don't really care, but I would love some help.
Or
And
downtown,
I'm still
I don't
happy. I talked to all the local business owners and I'm trying to get everybody to work together. How can we all do something?
Yeah.
There's not a single business owner on the chamber board.
Wow.
So there's nothing being done for the businesses and that's what it's supposed to be about.
What about Tim Smith and FCIDC?
I don't know, I don't know.
He's,
Because I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
with it.
he's engaged. I think, part of it is, and you've seen Heidi come around, Heidi Rich-Valenta from
Yeah.
our shop, and we're making a concerted effort. And we have a lot going on, but it needs to be a priority, and we're on it. It's definitely a village role.
Yeah.
It's up to Neil Spear. He's gotta make it
It's
happen.
his fault. But you know what, I understand, you have to look at the bigger guys, us little piddly, under $1 million kind of people aren't as important, but.
We gotta look at everybody, but I do think self-fulfilling prophecy. You start to have a restaurant, a more vibrant everything we're talking about, you're going to have more business.
I can say, Darcy, that I see your name and your shop name pop up everywhere. Whenever
But that's
anyone's
all
looking for
Darcy.
gifts,
But
I
that's
see
it, it's just
I
me.
know.
I'm
I
doing
know.
that by myself.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that's where having that restaurant and stuff starts to bring that business
Yep.
in, and the beautification stuff that's going on, making downtown a more palatable place to be.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, just in community development work, there is usually a division in that. The public sector maintains outside the 4 walls. So planting trees, flowers, snow plowing, all of those things that make a space attractive. What happens within the 4 walls is the genius of what Darcy is doing. And if the outside is as it should be and as attractive as it should be, and if you're promoted yeah, help with promotion perhaps, but it's your genius and your outside infrastructure development that should really make the difference. So, you know, it all blends, and Darcy's right, I mean, gosh, so much was handed to you and you did it so well. If you only stumbled and just, you know, but instead, everything you did was wonderful.
Well, I guess what my gripe is, what I'd really like to see is some assistance from the boards, the community. How can we attract folks to come to our businesses besides the making it look great, which is, it's awesome.
That would, yeah.
And thank you for all of that, but other towns, St. Albans has a downtown board, you know, and they promote their businesses. Franklin County Chamber of Commerce is wonderful. She's located in downtown St. Albans. She focuses on St. Albans, and I begged her for help, and we have a meeting next week. But Berry City, they have the Berry Partnership, and it's all of the business owners that work together, which is what I'd really like to see here, with a help from the boards.
I think we can,
Yes.
and I'm not speaking on behalf of our trustees or our president, but I think we can play a larger role in that, for sure.
And I think
I was actually shocked, honestly, that when I first got here, what's the email for all the downtown business owners? Doesn't exist. Where's the?
Suzanne Washburn has it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, it's
Yeah.
now there's some newer
Yes.
businesses, and
Yeah.
we can do better in so many areas, this is one of them.
Can we connect, you know, can I connect with you guys and
Yeah.
try to come up with
Absolutely.
something that we could do to work together? To
Sure.
create a, you know, business owners association or something. It doesn't have to be through SEP. It could be in its own individual, but I need help to do it.
I
can't
think
do
it
by
needs to
myself.
live outside of Sound.
Yes.
But you do need a point person,
Right.
like St. Albans has, and like
Yeah.
Genesburg
We can do
has,
it.
like
We need
Burlington
something.
has, like.
Because I'm hearing it from
Enosburg.
everybody in town, you know, how do we get people here? How are we getting people in our doors? Because there's nothing else to draw them here. We have to be the draw.
And you've done really well by those Sundays in the park. So let me ask you, when Elizabeth Nance was here, she was working on economic development. And she is still working now with FCIDC on economic development. So would she be available to spend more time working on Swanton?
She would be a key partner with us. We continue to work closely with her and with Tim's group
Good.
on a regular basis. We can certainly loop them in.
So what I'm hearing is we should keep economic development,
Yeah.
and whether we are the main driver or not, at least we bring it up, we talk about it, we try to help, and see if we can actually get a few more to help you, maybe on the committee to at least help this as part of what we do, because to me it's important. You talk about community, you talk about family. Well, if you have a downtown that no one ever wants to go to because it looks like blight, then that's not part of a community. So I
That's
think it's
right.
important we keep it in.
Yep.
I agree.
And then
that-
Thank-
it's gonna like, cause one of our focuses is community, so we can focus a lot on our local businesses too. It doesn't just need to be about, you
I don't
know,
think it matters how you name it on there.
right.
As long as it's something that people are aware of.
And I appreciate you voicing your opinion and voicing your frustrations, because I think we need to hear that so that we're more proactive in the work that you're doing and supporting you. So thank you.
You're a great supporter. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Betsy's my number one. Neil.
I gotta agree with Darcy. If there's a lot of things that both the village and town are doing that don't come about right off, like grants, the scoping study we did for downtown, that's gonna be a big plus, but it's taking years.
Yeah.
Like Riviera Hotel, getting rid of that took years, but anyways, what she's saying is, I've talked to some of the other people downtown, and the people that are making her and the others money aren't the locals. The locals don't go in to the stores downtown. The majority of them don't.
You just said I saw you in her shop the other day.
And that goes in with what I'm saying about promotion. And like she says, the chamber, their membership is down, and so their participation is down, and, I mean, that's rampant everywhere, but, you have to promote what's downtown. The beautification committee's making it look good down there. We've got the storefronts full now, through whoever's responsibility that was, and the majority of them are doing well, but they're struggling. And the village and the town both have tried to help them. We're in on some signage for some of the new businesses, and we put street lights under the cave there. We finally got street lights along Merchants Row, but it'd be nice to get somebody to help her in promoting the downtown. We're doing what we can, but if you've got some more suggestions, let us know. I mean, I've talked, just in the last couple of days, I've talked with some new businesses that are going downtown, and hopefully we'll be able to draw more people into the community. But
All right,
Nicole?
so,
Well, just to echo on that real quick, what makes Swanton a destination? You know, what makes people wanna be here, live here, stay here, play here, explore here? You know, I've asked, over the last year, I've asked tons of people that same question, and I just am not, nobody has an answer for me. You know, I'd be interested, not right now because we're pressed for time, but to hear from everybody in this room, what do you think makes us a destination? And I think that's gonna help us as we try to promote our community, as we try to build this economic development, as we try to not only fill the stores downtown, but to get people in the downtown businesses as well.
So there's a lot of things, and we could make a list, but I have a plea before we get off on this subject, and that is, please, people, stop using Amazon and buy local.
okay, we gotta move on.
Good luck.
Can I say one more
gotta
thing
move
on
on.
this though?
You got
I know
one-
specifically, talking with Marilyn at Scampers, I don't know what it falls under jurisdiction wise, but they would love help getting that shoveled, or I don't know if you're, the sidewalk machine. I don't know if you can get it up there or how that works, but they shovel that whole thing out and it takes them hours, and I know specifically they asked about getting some help with that before, so I don't know if that's something village or town or whatever, but clearing out the snow from the businesses,
You talking the steps or actually
like
on?
up on the
Landing.
landing, yeah, not the steps.
So I'm just gonna do a quick recap. So beautification, healthy communities,
Communications and engagement.
communication, engagement, and economic development. Good? All right, moving on. So we're gonna do our community chair and stakeholders recap, and Matthew Walker, we would love if you would, did you wanna share anything?
I didn't come prepared.
Okay, okay, perfect. We just wanted to give you the opportunity if you did, since you were here. But you don't have to. So we appreciate you coming.
Hope you come again.
So, MVSD, the school district, has a vacancy, and I think Terry O'Shea is working on finding us a representative, so there's no discussion there. The Arts Council's not here. The library's not here, but thank you for the use of your space, it's beautiful. The rec department is here.
I am here. And so I just a little bit about the library and the rec department. We had a really successful teen night, which just happened last Friday. We had one a month ago before. You know, we were able to engage 30 young people, and that was fabulous. Our programs at the rec department are still growing. While we are waiting for additional space, we have been very happy to be welcomed here in this building. We have a vegan cooking group going across the hall that the rec department organized with Arts Council funding here in the library. So that community partnership is very strong, very lively, and we couldn't be more proud of it. But as far as the rec department, you know, we're still moving forward and helping develop what a community center could look like for our town, and as our community, and as we get to the town of Swanton, which I'm I'm sorry to make you wait, but I'll go one more. You know, that's something the select board has committed to continuing to develop a community center here in that town. Also something that could, from the town of Swanton, that could be really important for economic development is we are working towards a zoning bylaw rewrite, which could make Swanton a friendlier place for businesses, and or denser development in general, which could bring a lot of opportunities here. We have also been approached by the state of Vermont about development at the exit 21 off-ramp, as anybody who's driven down the highway and gotten off at exit 21 can see, we need help there. We have far outgrown, I think, whatever they projected that to be, and now it needs some more redevelopment, and I think that all of those things, you know, are showing the state how much our community is growing, and I think that those are all really, really, really important things. And the other thing that we talked about is the website. Please continue to share, promote about the collaborative website, as community events here for SCP or any other organization. Share those with the town office, make sure we get those on there, because we are just so proud of everybody's hard work and seeing all the things going on in the community.
Thank you, Nicole. Joel, did you have anything on the LVRT?
Just real quick, it's going through what's called the NEPA, National Environmental Protection Act process, which is about a 4 to 6 month event. All the necessary information has been put together, so now it's just gonna go through the process and get approval for that. After that is done, the final design will be completed. Had hoped for construction start in early spring, but the NEPA process is fairly lengthy, so late spring, early summer, hopefully we will start construction on the LVRT.
You're talking about the pavilion or something.
The parking area, the one on Robin Hood. If you go on Robin Hood, they have not quite cut all the trees down, but there's a few trees they'll be removing hopefully pretty soon. Gives you kind of an idea of the extent of the area where the parking's gonna be, pavilion, bike stands, bike repair, etc. Yes, that'll all be part of the parking area at the western end of the Memorial Valley, Mighty Miles.
Because the Memorial Valley Rail Trail is built, it's our part of it, our.
Parking area that, yes, it was part of a.
Got it.
Yeah.
It is built, it was closed for a period of time due
Yeah,
to
but
the
it's
flooding, but now
reopened.
it's reopened
Yeah.
completely.
Yep.
Historical Society?
Sure, I was just rubbing my head there, but, yeah, well, basically, we're having a lecture series by Fred Wiseman, and we had one like a week or two ago. I sadly wasn't able to make that one, but there's one coming up this month, and check either Facebook or your email for the exact date for it. And we're also working on revamping the pool house. So we got some extra funds to try to use it to revamping the toll house and making sure that the weather doesn't take and vandalism doesn't decay the building. And other than that, we're looking towards spots to when it comes to putting moving stuff in the library. We're looking for spots around the town. So that's something that will be coming up as well soon. So that's the update for the historical study.
Thank you. Mr. Sheets, Village. Or
Mr. President, do you want honors?
It says Bill, not Neil. No, I'm just kidding.
The way things have been going, when you get done, if there's any time left for me, I'll say something.
I want to have one back to the representative here, and Nick, I'll make sure I'm kind of. So we got a couple things going on, and I know I always have 2 minutes because I get the stink eye from Madam Chair if I go over. We have a bond vote coming up next week on the 7th from 7 to 7 on wastewater, $8 million ask. We have $3 million in grant funds, so we need about 3.9 roughly, 2%, 20 years. The impact on our voters, any sewer customers, is $17.12 a month beginning in 2026 or 2027, depending upon the completion of construction. At the end of construction, you only pay interest on the bond in the first year. Then you start paying on the full amount, which is $300,000 a year. The bigger, and I say bigger, the bigger discussion, and I think people know that it's coming. We have a joint meeting with our colleagues from the select board on the 13th. Do I have that right? I think so. Off the top of my head, is that right? 13th. Welcome anybody to join, and it's essentially about the future of law enforcement between the village and the town and the surrounding community. We are going to go for a bond vote in March. That'll be, because of the governance structure, it'll be eligible for village voters only, but it'll be a bond for public safety and not a complete, but about 50% renovation, restoration of our existing facility, which looks pretty good on the outside, but I welcome anybody to come in. It's 48 years old. It's not very nice inside. It's not functional. And we have 10 informational meeting open houses to start with, 10 in December. The first one to kick off is December 7th. We're going to flood it. We're going to have mailers. We're going to have, we're even doing an Instagram page. We're going to go modern. So tell the kids and grandkids we're going Instagram. And of course we use the other forms of social media. And then we'll take a little holiday break, and then starting in January, I'm going to call it 100 days of open houses. We're going to literally probably have 30 official events where people can come in. Specific dates, times, locations, obviously is our facility, and anything informal. So, I love the conversation. We're not going to have it completely here, but we're in an interesting time, and we believe that we are uniquely situated to first extend full law enforcement coverage to the town and then surrounding communities, and perhaps be a model for regionalized policing for the state of Vermont.
Sounds great. That's the 13th at the village office at what time?
6 o'clock.
November 13th, 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know I'm out of time, but real quickly, so we're even, this is really for the downtown. It does take a while, but we're in with Heidi on board, Heidi Bridge-Valenta in grants. We are in another round for the back side of the park for $600,000 with $150,000 match to improve the parking lot we bought, 74 Merchants Row, and make it one way, fix stormwater and angled parking. We're going to pick up 40 parking spots for downtown. Don't get too excited. 3 to 5 years.
That's not abnormal.
No, it's everything
Yep.
takes time.
Yep.
But,
It's taken at least that for downtown St. Albans to get their sidewalks.
It does.
It takes
time.
30 years,
It does.
so
Yeah.
you're kind of in the middle toward the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill, one quick question. You said $17.60.
12 cents.
What?
$17.12 per user per month.
Per month?
Correct. Roughly $220 impact per year. Again, starting in about 2026. So the recap, and I know I'm out of time, but
You can take.
a little disconcerting. We have 5 open houses at our wastewater facility itself, 5 different dates and times, and 1 informational meeting. Out of those 6 events, we had 3 citizens show up.
Right.
We sold it on social media, and I get it. I think people have a general understanding that the facility outlived any reasonable life expectation, and you have to take care of your wastewater needs. So I'm appreciative of that, but at the same time, I'm worried. I'm worried about the vote on the setup.
Yeah, sure.
Neil, did you have something to add on to
Yeah, well, just
your long-winded
briefly,
management?
but following up on what Bill says, I have to commend Bill on being, our social medias, everything is saying how not transparent everybody's been. Bill's been very transparent, and if anybody has any questions as to the validity of what they're seeing on Facebook or wherever, go and see him or ask us, because what we're proposing, the sewer plant and the public safety building, is going to be a big plus for all of us. It's not just some scheme that the village trustees dreamed up, and the town is on board, and we commend them for that. We thank them for that, and these 2 changes could change not just our community but Franklin County, and it's a big positive, and the voters have usually cited with the improvements, and I hope they will do that in the future. But try to get somebody out to the open houses and the information. Like Bill says, we scheduled an informational meeting on the bond. We had open houses down at the sewer treatment plant, and you can count the number of people, but you count the number of people that react on the media, the social media, and most of them aren't for the positive. It just gets kind of frustrating. So.
Someone who's dispatched out of that police department, it's long been outgrown.
Yeah.
So show up.
Can I ask just one more question? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that Madam Chair is going to allow me to speak.
I just want to know, is the bond vote the precedent to a USDA grant?
Which one?
Sewer and water.
No. Different grants not directly related to USDA. We are working more closely with USDA on the public safety facility and the renovation.
But is there thought about wastewater from USDA?
We explored every
Okay.
option. And
So,
again, so I think if you recall the downtown economic tour we had with the state of Vermont, they actually, based on that, reached out to us the next day and said, we'd like to meet with you. They found, without us asking, based on this and the discussion, they found an extra $1 million for us for this one.
Oh, wow. Great. Good.
Hank, beautification.
All right, well, I handed out a dozen sheets of kind of a summary of what was done in 2023. And so if you don't have a copy, just read on with your neighbor. But we just want to thank everybody for the great success we've had this year. We've added 4 new bridge boxes, 7 hanging baskets, 4 or 5 planters on Merchants Row. The fountain, flower bed, and the totem pole bed were renovated. A lot of work, particularly by Julie Charland and a couple of other people. Created new beds at Veterans Park, thanks to Joel, who dug them out almost single-handedly. We planted 9 new trees, and you can see where they're located there. We're experimenting with planting hydrangeas on First Street because trees in most places would be set in a very narrow greenway between the sidewalk and the curb, and in some cases on the south side of the street we have utility poles and utility lines. So we're experimenting with hydrangeas, and we'll see how they go. And we couldn't have done this without our 20 citizen volunteers on our committee. Sandy and Ron and Siobhan are on the committee. Citizen donors, we had a successful drive. The village trustees and the town select board were so supportive with funds, and in one case, the village, Dean Ryan, the director of public works, worked hard installing water pipes to the bridge and most of the bends on the village green. It made a huge difference in our day-to-day work. And we hired Linda Cross of TLC Lawn Care to do work for us. Thank you so much for it. And we had so many responses, acclaims by passers-by and citizens alike, of how beautiful the downtown looked, and it's all thanks to you. Next year, we want to catch up a little bit. Our plan calls for 10 street side trees a year, so we'll have to plant 11 next year. Plant more hydrangeas if they're successful, particularly during the winter. Create new beds and window boxes at the town office building. Increase hanging baskets on Grand Avenue. We're looking at working window boxes at the diner on Grand Avenue. Collaborate with the Arts Council, Swanton Public Arts Network. That's David Winchester and Joel Clark with VFW. create a painted mural. And then, of course, we're gonna do fundraising. And it occurred to me, when we were talking about working with youth, that we have somewhat of a responsibility for Green Up Day. And we plant, of course, and that there may be opportunities there for inviting young people in addition to older folks to work with us. We're going to be expanding flowers at the Veterans Park. Something in our bailiwick is improving the bandstand. It needs at least sandblasting and painting and some safety elements. And Joel brought up the point that the entrances to our town and village need some nice looking welcome signs. And we're going to take a look at that and see what we can do to help that out.
Nice. Thanks,
Oh,
Hank.
by the way, the $20,000 we received is to be spent over 10 years. That's one of the stipulations. So it's $2,000 a year for our efforts.
Thank you.
So did you plant a hydrangea right outside here?
No, that's a tree. What is it called? A tree.
It's a tree.
Tree formed something or other. That's going to grow to
You
about.
know that.
It's called a something or other. It's going to be about 12 feet high when it's mature.
Oh, okay. Thank you for all your work.
Did you want to talk about a grant or now?
Yep, so there is an opportunity, since I already gave a presentation about the community stuff, there is an opportunity for a grant through, that is being overseen by the United Way. It's called the VPLO grant. And it is around prevention, but it's a very broad scope of prevention. It is upwards of $25,000 this first go round, and they're gonna be giving out multiple awards. It is due November 17th, so there's a quick turnaround right now, and it has to be spent within 6 months. So we'll know by January 1st if we wanted to apply. Because it is that quick turn, it may be wise to think about a specific project that we want to present, and you know, some of the ideas that getting youth involved with things would be a great idea to use for that. I unfortunately can't write for that grant because I have to write it for my job.
So it's due November 17th,
It is due
like
November
this
17th.
month.
United Way grants are easy.
Yeah, I know, but.
To write.
Yeah, okay, okay.
They're very easy grants to write. I do have the RFP that I'm happy to send along if someone wants to take a look at it.
Please do.
But it, you know, like I said, it's upwards of $25,000, and it's a very broad scope of prevention that works with all ages.
Might fit into some of our focuses.
Well, and it might be something that Heidi's looking at. I don't know.
We're not looking at that, we're looking at literally millions in every other pile there are, whether it's line relocation for the electric department or water, sewer, public safety, you name it.
So this one will be 6 months, and then in July 1, there will be a new RFP out for the next several years.
Siobhan,
Okay, make this quick. Just to verify, the new name for the communications committee, are we doing community engagement and communications committee, or just because I'm gonna be writing it up and requesting community volunteers to join us, you know, adding that engagement and talking about let's plan some events and have things happening.
Did you say that was originally too long? Did you want it shorter, communications and engagement? I mean,
Well, that's what I'm asking about it, like, well, it
what's your
was
recommendation is the.
communications and connectivity committee was the original.
oh,
That was the original name that it stands now under the name. So, I mean, that was too long and not much, you know, but this is still kind of long that way, but you guys want both engagement and communications.
no, you said community engagement, so that's why we put it there.
No, yeah, that I want community engagement.
That's what you want, not communications.
Well, I feel like communications and engagement go hand in hand.
So you
So-
want the communications to be called community
And-
engagement, like we wrote down, right?
Is that what we're doing?
Community, how about community communications and engagement?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Okay.
And then future planning for the healthy stuff. Red Cross would love to do a blood drive here in Swanton, so if we could work that in maybe into next year, something we do.
They do them often at the VFW.
Yeah,
Mhm.
quite often,
Oh, yeah,
actually.
yeah, I get that.
But just more so us, partnering with them and then creating that partnership as well. Abby and the library are gonna be doing some events for, like the solar eclipse next year. It'll just be like small things where they, do things with the kids and then give them classes. But I would love to see if we talk about having a solar eclipse event or something we can create for next year.
I created an event page already on Facebook.
Yeah, that would be a cool community mixer event
Yep.
that we could do, and that could be something that we could write that BPLO grant for.
Cool.
Okay, and then I was just curious, did we, I know that's for the community center, they talked about working towards getting grants now. Do we have a grant writer for the community center stuff? Has anybody been able to find grants that may?
We don't have a grant, we're gonna put out an RFP for a grant writer, but currently we're waiting for, the engineer to come back with a design and a design cost before we move forward with that.
Okay, and then I guess the last thing I'd just like to say is good job to Darcy, because I pay attention, online, and you do a lot of great things and events, and seems like they're pretty well, attended, and anything community engagement like can do. And you can always send me your flyer. I don't want to just steal it and share it, but if you are okay with that, I'll steal your flyer events and stuff, and I'll post it to the set page and etc. And also, I heard that highway's almost done in Canada, so yay.
Yay.
Darcy, did you wanna add anything?
I do. For community and economic development, we have Small Business Saturday coming up in a few weeks. That is the Saturday directly after Thanksgiving. And all of our local retailers are working together, and we have an event page on Facebook to try to encourage everybody to hit all of the stores. There'll be raffles and giveaways and things like that to encourage. And I have a ladies' night, queen's night out coming up at the shop.
So it would like to be an event in the park.
Seems exclusionary.
Christmas in the Park is a chamber event, and they're looking at doing it December 2nd, but it's not confirmed as of yet.
So not that same day like they normally
I
do.
was thinking the same thing.
I mean,
We'll have to do drones night out too.
that was well played. I like that.
Siobhan, I have a question. Do you have a committee? Do you have a group,
Yeah, people in it. We got Nicole,
people in it?
Nick, Abby, and
So you
then
need,
there's one other person after the beautification stuff started. She wanted to join, but we haven't gotten together as a group and done it. They're always so busy. But anytime I pop in, Nicole always has time for me. And as we reorganize this, as we've done, reach out. We need more people in our community engagement. But we need to have that incentive. Why would they want to be a part of it? You know what I mean? And because we want to get together and have events. You want events? We want events, and go from there.
and,
Alright.
so
Sounds
reach out on the whatever pages and whatever you use. However you talk to people. It's, you need people.
We need people. You got it. So we're gonna go on to secretary needed. So we need someone to take our meeting minutes. So I guess did anybody have any ideas? Should we post something like we had suggested?
And we're offering a stipend,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And basically, we're looking at every other month, so.
Yeah.
It's, meeting 5:30 to 7 plus or minus, and then minutes after that, and it'd be a stipend, and it'd be 6 times a year. So it's not a big drain on somebody, but, that's what we're looking for.
So it's about 24 hours. You think 2 hours of a meeting and 2 hours to prepare the
Prepare the
minutes.
notes,
So-
24 hours a year.
Yeah, is that what I said, or?
Yeah.
Well, you,
No.
24, yes.
You
that's
said 24
4
hours. We
6
didn't want
times
to.
a year, 6
Yeah.
times a year for 24 total. Yes.
6 times a year, 24 hours. And so if you paid $100 a meeting, that's $25 an hour. But nonetheless, that's a nice income per year.
Maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So if we posted it that way, you'd probably get some interest.
Yeah.
Make it $2,500 per year. Nice round.
Yeah, so I guess keep your eye out. We'll post something out.
Wait,
Wait,
way too
yeah,
much.
no, not
No, way too
2,500.
much, 600, sorry.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm leaning in here.
I'm here anyway.
There was
Yeah,
a lot
I'd
of
like to-
pickup. I was thinking $2,400, that's nice.
I'd like to put the word out and start at a figure, maybe like, $75 and just see if we get a discussion going and then maybe go up depending on what someone's needs are.
Yeah. $75 a meeting.
Right.
I mean, we can talk to the person.
Right,
Nick?
negotiable.
Yeah, if you can't find anybody, I've written meeting minutes before for a few different organizations. So, like, if you can't find anybody, I could do it, but
Okay.
it'd be great if you could post it though, as something.
Yeah, we'll make an effort before we tag your it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but for $2,400 a year.
Yeah, I know, right? Nice catch, Joel.
Oh, yeah.
Scared you just.
So, we do have some new business.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Well, let Christine have the
Chris.
floor.
Chris is on.
I was looking at the minutes from September, and I saw that Joel had made a note on the Marble Mills line about $815 available and looking for community input. So I emailed him and Betsy a couple days ago, and I said, I'm not sure if you're aware how much Marble Mill is used by pickleball players all summer. I mean, it's a huge, like a community thing.
2,200 players this summer.
How many?
2,200 players this summer.
So who was keeping track? You really, so anyways, there's, my husband told me there's 53 different people who played over the summer. We keep track of, of it every day. But like every week there's, we play in the mornings. All I know about really are in the mornings, it's mostly retired people, but there's some families. A grandmother comes with her kids. It's a multi-generational game. Really anybody can play. The Parkinson's Society support group in St. Albans encourages people to come because it's a recommended activity for people with Parkinson's. So I found that out by people talking about it. And so, but first, a couple things I want to say. First, I want to thank Bill. When we were playing at the beginning of the year, there was leaves, and so we called and emailed, and he came right down. He actually came down and watched. We were playing one day and got the village guys to did a tremendous job sweeping all the leaves up, did all the weed whacking, painted the lines. So I really appreciate it. The other thing I recognize is the village can't put real money into that because it's the floodplain. So Bill was saying, well, the long-term plan is to move it someplace else, and that's money. And so in the meantime, it's really a highly utilized area, and it's really the best place in all of Franklin County because it's got 3 courts and it's got shade. All the other places are way out in the open, and plus so many people play now that we almost always exceed the 3 courts. 4 people times 3 is, we always get like 15 or 16 people. You can see the cars all lined up in that parking lot.
Yeah.
And people are, a lot of them are mostly older than me. Like there's a late 83-year-old lady, like I want to be like her when I grew up because she comes with when her daughter and granddaughter come from away, they all play together. Like how many multi-generational physical activities are there? So anyways, I said to Joel and Betsy, what if that money could be used to buy new nets for the courts and maybe even actually make 2 of them like real pickleball courts, because the pickleball courts are smaller, narrower. You would need new posts, and I mean, I'm just talking from what we pickleballers have talked about. I mean, we need to get input from the village and Nicole and whomever about, like, maybe what I'm saying isn't like the right way to go, just what we pickleballers have talked about all summer. And the other thing that's cool is anybody can show up and play pickleball. It's really simple. Everybody just joins in. I mean, I didn't know really anybody there this summer when we first started playing, and now I have all these new friends. It's a really great, like, community building, like, event. It is. So
If you
anyways.
don't have pickleball equipment, you can borrow it from the rec department.
Yeah.
I have the equipment, I just need to learn how to play.
Well, you just need to show up. You know,
I'm there.
I'll tell you about it next summer, of course. But anyway, so that was my proposal for the table.
Yep. I think that's a good good way to utilize those funds. I think that, we don't know how much anything costs, so I think before we kind of make that final decision, I'd like to see how much it would cost for the nets and the poles and kind of get an idea, a more about that. And also, does the village put money away anymore for Marble Mill, or was that a one-time gig?
I yield my time to the president on that one. No, we don't set aside.
Remember we used to put money away for Marble Mill? One year we did.
We maintain it, but I don't think we've got a fund.
We do not. It was on my list. I was kind of surprised as the new person coming in that we didn't have just a coordinated effort amongst all parks.
Parks, right.
That's something we need to work on.
And that's a new project.
Yes.
That's on the list of
Yeah.
things to discuss moving forward.
So, and anytime I get a chance to go visit with Nicole, I love it. We have great conversations and dialogue about this. New nets, that was on our list for next year, by the way, for the village. So,
okay.
if there's a way we can collaborate, we hadn't had the discussion yet about, but anything to support the cult of pickleball. There are things like you can't hit while you're in the kitchen and things like that.
kitchen, I know.
You gotta be careful of that kind of stuff.
Get in touch with me next spring, or anybody can. We trained a lot of new people.
How is the lighting down there, can I ask? How is the
So Christine, did you get him to try it?
No.
Did not.
You didn't?
I didn't have,
Oh,
he hasn't taken up our invitation yet.
I'd like to propose that Bill and Nicole take a look, because we are talking about maybe changing the tennis courts to pickleball. So it'd have to be something that was agreed upon, but come to us, and this is money we should spend. It was designated for that purpose, so it
Yeah, I
would make
think it'll
sense to use
probably be,
that.
it might be double that, and we collaborate and we take care of it. And I think, the only concern, and I don't think it's a concern, is I think pickleball now truly is way up here with use, and tennis, we'll keep one tennis court, and I still think we meet the need.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
And that's-
agree.
Right.
Good. Sweet.
So I'm happy.
Are you happy with that?
I'm really thrilled. I mean, I'm happy to help. We're leaving in a couple weeks for the winter, but I can do things.
I know how to email you.
We have your
You do?
email.
Yeah, let's just assign right now. Please, research and tell us what you need for
I can
true
do that with
pickleball
Mark.
nets.
She's
and
great
posts.
at that.
I am, yeah. I can do
That would be a big help.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It was great to come again.
Is there any other business? New business? No? All right. So our next meeting is January 4th, 2024. And our executive committee will meet prior, and we will come up with a cool meeting topic that kind of sits on our focus for 2024. So I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight and being part of the conversation. And as much as I give you crap, Mr. Sheets, I welcome you every meeting.
Love you too.
Yeah. I think it's a way for our community to really hear what's happening, and I think this group kind of brings that to the table. So thank you all for coming. We gotta close the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, meeting adjourned, 7:16.
Thank you, Crystal.
As a tray.